Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel, and it's finally my turn to take a look at this awesome new Kill Team box set. So I did acquire this a couple of weeks ago when it first came out. Finally had a chance to actually unwrap the cellophane and take a look at the glorious contents that are inside. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So here is the box itself. It is pretty large and quite heavy, to be honest. Apologies for some of the light reflecting off of the cellophane here. That's just the way that the studio works here. But you can see here some glorious artwork. They've really gone to town with this orange and black theme, indicating that everything is related to Kill Team. And that includes all the booklets and everything else, and all the cards. So, and you can see actually on the Games Workshop website that all of the smaller boxes that are coming from this all have this similar art style. It's pretty impressive, to be honest. But let's crack open the cellophane. Let's get that ripped off. Well, I say ripped off. I'm going to carefully remove it with my scalpel, obviously. So just opening it up there, and this will get rid of the shine on the light as well, so it'll make it a little bit easier to see the video. Now, one thing that I have been looking at on my research for this game is how small the board's going to be. I'm interested to see physically how that's really going to look. Everyone's put videos up and diameters and so on, but until you physically see it for yourself, it's going to be an interesting one. But you can see some really nice artwork of the Genestealer cult versus the mechanical forces that are on there. Yeah, very, very pretty. The box, the quality of these boxes these days is really going into the high-end consumer market. So if you imagine like Apple products or Samsung products or whatever, they are really well boxed these days, and a lot of companies are spending a lot of time and effort on their marketing side of things and their boxing. And there's no holds barred here with Games Workshop's one. So once we lift the lid, we are presented with this. This is, you know, I've not opened this before. I'm just doing an audio commentary over the top of the video. And you can see here you get a nice Kill Team little black piece of card here. But on the other side is a poster, which is a reflection of the actual cover artwork of the box. Really pretty artwork. Genestealer cult has been around, you know, not as a faction for a long time, but as a concept for a very, very long time. And there's some really old models floating around that are quite valuable these days. So once we get the poster out of the way, what are we presented with? We have all the bases, so a bunch of bases for all the models in a little bag there. We've got a couple of little plastic bags here. I assume they're going to go on the cards that come with the game, because everything seems to have stratagems and data sheets these days. And one big thing to note here is the coloured plastic. Now this really is for those that aren't that interested in painting and just want to get straight in, and they can put their models together and just play without any qualms about who's on whose side. So we've got the Adeptus Mechanicus in red, and we have the Genestealer cult in grey. And you can see there's sort of 5 half frames or 2.5 full frames worth of stuff, and they're not the little clip together stuff. These are proper kits. They're not skimping on the quality of the models here, so you can still get to town. But we'll take a look at the individual components a bit later in the video. The most important thing for me then was the terrain, and there is stacks of it. Look at it, it's tons of it. It's just ridiculous amounts. I think it's like eight full frames of terrain, and I think the ballpark figure going, if you base how many frames of terrain there are in each of the smaller kits of this, where you can buy the terrain separately, it's about £10 a frame. So you've got sort of 80 quid's worth of terrain in here, plus the armies, plus the rules and everything else. So really, really good value. You can see there's a lot of frame duplication, but that's not really an issue, because that's the whole point of modular systems, is you need to make it look and feel similar enough that you can bolt everything together in this modular idea. And again, note the colour of the plastic here. It is that weird ochre kind of colour. Now, magically, I seem to have got a second poster. I'm not sure whether that's a boxing error or just a bit of luck, but I seem to have got 2 of those posters. But underneath that second one, we end up with all, just see there, look, 2 posters exactly the same. Lucky or misboxing, I'm not sure. But underneath that second poster, we've got all the goodies that make the game work then. So we've got a little measuring stick here, so a 12-inch measuring ruler, transparent as well. Not overly exciting, everyone will use a tape measure. There's an extra base there, I assume that's for the arquebus from the AdMech forces. 3 stacks of cards, some dice, there's 6d6 and a couple of d8s in there as well. I haven't seen variable shaped dice for a long time, to be honest. I'm very much used to the D6 system, as I'm not a D&D type player. So 3 stacks of cards then, so we've got sort of stratagem cards and we've got faction cards and so on. There's some generic cards as well which can be used across all forces from what I can make out. But on the back of the cards, nice iconography or nice artwork, so you can see that some of these relate to the Genestealer cult and some to the AdMech, so yeah, you won't be able to get them confused when they're face up. So we get the core manual. This core manual is pretty chunky. It is a softback book, A4 size, lots of stuff in there, but we'll have a closer flick through because I'm quite initially put off by that size of that book for a quick game. That does look quite in depth. Then we have some card tokens, some for the AdMech and some for the Genestealer cult as well. Then we have some mini books as well. These are the faction specific books for those kill teams themselves. Now within that, I'm guessing, yeah, you can see there's some instruction manuals going to be at the back, but I do assume that there is a mini pamphlet for each of the kill teams. And as kill teams are coming out, you know, in their own box set with a bunch of terrain, I assume they're also going to have their own individual faction books. Now this is the board. So it's cellophaned up, it's super thick cardboard, highly detailed on it. Similar kind of card that you got from the olden days of Space Hulk and so on. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how big that actually folds out to be. So let's take a look at everything in its individuality. So as I said right at the top of the video, I'm really interested to see how the size of this game plays out. So the first thing I want to have a look at is the board itself. So I'm just going to carefully cut open the cellophane to the board section because I'm really interested to see how big a game this really is. I'm so used to playing on 6x4 boards for pretty much everything, or a smaller game on a 4x4, that I'm really curious to see how much space this game really takes. Everyone is banding around its sort of coffee table size, so you can just set it up anywhere, even a pub table, something like that. So it opens up into sort of, well, it opens up like a folded piece of cardboard, let's be honest. But it's reasonably thick, and then we fold it out, and look, it actually fits on my desk. That is it. Let me. It lays nicely flat. I mean, it's not like a neoprene table mat. Let me just zoom out a little bit here, and you can see there that it actually fits on my desk, which is a lot smaller than I was expecting. So I'm just going to grab a tape measure and see how big this really is. Now the board is 30 inches in length and 22 inches in width. Now that really is quite small, right? So as I said, so used to playing on much larger boards, but this is, you know, behind enemy lines, small elite forces. It's a real shrunken down game, and that's really reflected by the size of this board. You can see here there's sort of 2 designs, very similar in aesthetics, but 2 mini designs of boards so that it's double-sided, so you can vary up your playing surface slightly. So with the board out of the way, let's take a look at these individual faction pamphlets or faction rule sets. So I did kind of guess that there's two in here, plus the instructions to put the models together. And we'll just rip the cellophane off and take a look at what's in here. Being a little bit fiddly. I'm just trying. I have to be really careful. I don't want to cut into any of the booklets themselves. I want to try and keep it as pristine as possible. So the top one you can see there is the Genestealer cult, and as expected, yep, there is the AdMech one. And you can see they're given nice little factiony fancy names, but also in there is a quick start reference guide as well. So something I wasn't expecting in there, but you see within these little faction booklets is a little bit of background and some painting and so on. It's a nice little addition, really. It's all about that particular kill team. So they've all got fancy names like the Devoted Sons here, and there's a Gamma, blah blah blah. If you're used to your AdMech mannerisms, they are sort of Greek alphabets and then some numbers. There's a little quick reference guide here. Begin here. It's quite obvious where you need to start. Look, it even tells you with an exclamation mark. It's almost idiot proof. So hopefully that means that I might learn how to play it. So just 2 sides of that. So you can get started pretty quick. So that whole idea of that massive rule book that I had If you really are not interested in reading a massive set of rules, then a quick reference guide is rather handy. It's almost like the 40k primer that came out. And then within the instruction booklet, we've got all the army components here, again in their new glorious format standard. And then we also have how to put together your terrain. So there's lots of multi-parts to the terrain, end caps and columns and pillars, and how to put it all together, and it is 100% modular. And right at the very end, we have the rules for the two factions that are involved in the core game, and they are also transposed into multiple languages. So all these pages I'm flicking through, only 2 are relevant to your particular language, and then some more little colour guides at the very end. That covers those. So let's take a look at the terrain. This is the bit that I'm most excited about. So I've just zoomed the camera in there. I've got, I love terrain in 40k. I think it makes the game. Lots of debate on the interwebs about how some events have got very, very bad terrain. But from a personal hobbyist, I really want to make sure that my games are as immersive as possible and I play them with my friends. And I want the terrain to look as good as the effort put into the armies. So lots of frames, lots of detail, right? So I believe each of these are named in a kind of way. So if you go onto the Games Workshop website, they do actually name them as ruin section or floor section or whatever. And each of the kits that come with them, like the basilicum and so on, they are a combination of sort of core bits of frame and then some unique bits of frame. Very similar to the Mechanicum terrain, which kind of comes with sort of 2 or 3 frames that are almost identical across the board, and then you have the unique bit to make it a bit different to the other kit. The detail on these is stunning, and I was concerned it was going to be made of that real nasty sort of hybrid resin plastic, but it's not. It is made of your standard 40k style plastic, so any of your regular kits, it is the same stuff. It's just been coloured differently, so the same look and feel, just with a different colour. So suitably impressive. You can see there, I've just laid them out so you can see that there's replication on some of these pieces. So those little ones in the middle are all the same, and the ones on the ends were the same. So let's take a look at the model sprues here. So we've got, as I said, the grey ones for the Genestealer Cult. Look how packed of components they are. Only 2 frames, and there's 10 full models on there, and they are full multi-pose, full multi-kits. The not any sort of click standard pose stuff. These should go together relatively well, and you will need glue to put them together. Now this is the first time, I believe, the Genestealer Cult frame. I think this is new out, and as of Warhammer's community page, as of the 12th of August, we know that there is a Genestealer Cult Codex coming out, and more models are being added to that line. Now these are the AdMech frames. There's 3 of these because the parts are just a little bit bigger. They've got bigger guns. And as you see, they are red and grey plastic, but the plastic is the same quality, same feel as your regular box set armies. No 40k game is complete without stacks of cards these days. It's getting a bit card heavy in my opinion, but for these small skirmish games, they really do make and break a game. So let's have a look inside these. So I'm just going to cut open the cellophane on these and see what's inside them and see how good a quality the card is. So initial inspection then, these are sort of the data sheets for all of the individual models that come in the game. So Kill Team is very individual model based. If you use the squad based games like 40k, Age of Sigmar, these are unique. Each guy is going to have his own stat lines or his own weapons and his own abilities. And as his kill team evolves, I suspect they'll be able to modify and upgrade their kit if you play a campaign. So just going through these, yeah, just the card quality is basically the same as all of the ones you get for regular 40k. So they are, nice, not overly thick, and not too flimsy that you're just going to tear them every 5 seconds. So they're pretty damn good, to be honest. And you also get a whole load of blank ones as well, so you can use these to make up your own kill teams. So every sort of 5 or so cards with names on, you get 5 blank ones. So in total there are 10 Genestealer Cult ones and 10 AdMech ones, and then there are 20 blank ones so that you can get to work with your own kill team and get those made up out of your regular 40k armies that you have already. We just sort of keep going through these and just see if there's anything else that's coming on. Notice more blank ones right at the very end, and we can just split those up and have a look at these individually. So every other card, it just happens to, this is the way that the unbox happened. So on the left is the Genestealer Cult ones, on the right is the Admech ones, and each individual card has got, you know, sort of a unique name, or if it's a cultist or a Genestealer cultist, it just says that on them. But on the Admech ones, they've all got fancy little names, and it shows their weapons and so on that's included on those cards. As I said, on the cards you've got all their names and their points values and their stats and weapons and so on. So for example, Jorl Kraus, 9 points, and he's the neophyte leader of the Genestealer cult, and he has a blasting charge, a bolt pistol and a power pick. And then below that you've got abilities. So he's got the ability of cult and ambush, and a specialism, he's the leader, so he's resourceful, and he's got a demeanour, he's strange twitching. Having not read the rules, I'm not sure what that's going to mean, but there we go. And then underneath all of that, you've got experience, flesh wounds, convalescence, and new recruit tabs. So you're looking to be able to mark those off as you play through the game. As I said, I've not played this game yet, so this might mean something to you, or it might not. It certainly means nothing overly to me. Obviously, the stat lines and weapons do. And looking at these stat lines and the weapons, they are very similar to how 40k works. So you still have strength, AP, and damage on the weapons. You still have the regular stat line, exactly the same as 40k models. So if you're familiar with how the data sheets work for 40k, you'll be familiar with how these are all broken down as well. The new bit here for Kill Team is the experience and the wounds and so on at the bottom. So statistically, or the stat lines are going to be slightly different because it's just a different game. The next pack of cards that we're opening up is the generic ones that come with the core set. So these are not unique to the particular faction that you're playing. So these are almost like your core rulebook of 40k stratagems. There's 3 stratagems in the core rulebook and some others, I believe, in the chapter approved book as well. But these are your generic ones that I would assume at this stage you can use across any faction. So it's all command points. How those command points are generated, as I've said before, I've not played the game or read the book yet. This is purely the unboxing and just looking at the quality of the cards and what's in there as well, really. So yeah, lots of different stratagems, lots of different abilities. This is what's going to make the game that it's going to be. So very different to 40k. So there's lots of fancy shenanigans going on. Some of the wording in these is pretty cool. Looking forward to working out how they play. Now this final pack of cards then, these are the unique ones to the factions in the box set. So unique Genestealer Cult ones and unique Adeptus Mechanicus ones. Now the individual box set kill teams that are out, like the Orc one and the Space Wolf one, they're going to have a similar deck of cards in there unique to that particular faction as well. We just skim through some of these. For example, the Genestealer Cult have a tactic for 2 command points called Seismic Blast. Use this tactic when you choose a model in your kill team to shoot with a shortwave profile of a seismic cannon. If an attack for the weapon hits, roll a dice, blah blah blah. It's going to do lots of really cool things, right? I'm not going to read through all of these, but the interesting thing on the backs is the faction iconography. So you can see there the cards associated with the Admech and the cards associated with the Genestealer Cult, and then looking at the generic ones on the back there, they just have a generic symbol across the board as well. So you can easily identify which cards are which and which belong to who. And you get 2 bags with this, 2 little cellophane sealable bags. I think there's not enough bags included in my honest opinion. So you can get the 2 sets of cards into the 2 bags, but what about the dice and the tokens and so on? You're going to have to squeeze them into these bags as well. I'd rather have had a bag for the tokens and a bag for the cards, but at least they're included. And talking of card tokens, let's open these up as well. So being really, really careful when you open up these because you really don't want to scratch the card on the token itself, because it will annoy you. It certainly would annoy me if I damaged them. But card tokens here, very similar if you remember going back to sort of Space Hulk card tokens and stuff. Really high quality, really quite a good thick card. There does seem to be a lot of tokens going on in a lot of these modern games. So trying to keep hold of all of the accessories that come with your game is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. And then we get 2 sets of cards. We've got ones for the Gene Stealer Cult and then ones for the AdMech. As I said, I've got no idea what any of these mean at this stage, but I am sure I will be getting a game and recording it for the channel very shortly. So not really a lot to say. I mean, you can see there, quite a thick card. And I'm going to have to try and find a couple of other bags to put those tokens in. Now, as I said right at the start of the video as well, I really didn't want a super thick manual of rules for a small pickup game. It's supposed to last 35-40 minutes, whatever. I didn't want to have to read 200 pages of War and Peace. But fortunately, when you start looking through the contents and so on, which is nicely laid out at the front with a nice reference guide at the back, when you break the book down, half of it is all about the factions that you want to use. So there's a Thousand Suns kill team, Death Guard kill team, how to make the kill teams for every single faction in the game. So that's going to reduce the rulebook down already by 50%. So half the, you're not going to read every single bit of that unless you're a super fluff monster and you want to see every single possible kill team. But you're going to flick to the ones that perhaps you already have the models for. So if I just sort of separate the pages, just flick through, get rid of the introduction and all the gumph out the way saying, congratulations on buying Kill Team. Let's get to where the core rules actually start and where the main rules finish, just so we can try and work out how many pages of rules there really are to comprehend. There's a whole bunch of missions there, some more pretty pictures, there's an advanced rules section there and an example section. I do like the way they include examples. It does make you feel a little bit less of an idiot when you play it. So this is the first page of the instructions. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 pages there, but there's a lot of diagrams, a lot of examples in there, and then we move into the advanced rules. So realistically, there aren't that many rules by the looks of it to read. And then we get into the missions and so on, and then there's some specialist cool stuff as you build your team up. So actually, I'm probably not as put off as I thought I was going to be. Only seems to be a very slim number of rules, which hopefully, given my experience with 40k, I should be able to understand them pretty quick and just see what the differences are, and then still work with the game. So let's just skim through some of the bits here. See, as I said, Death Guard, and then we get to Thousand Suns. Now I've been doing Thousand Suns, so I thought I'd have a quick look here, and you can see what you've got is some unique abilities that come with the Thousand Suns on this page, with all their fancy shenanigans and some stratagems. And as we turn over the page, we can see a little bit more on how to make your Thousand Suns kill team, and then on the next page, lovely little bit of artwork. I do love that picture of that Rulebook Marine. He's been floating around for a while now, but I do like it. And on the next page, then we're going to have the stat line for the Thousand Suns Marines. So there we go. Then we can see we've got the option of Rulebook Marines and Zangors to make your kill team at 40k. Super convenient for me because that's exactly what I'm painting and using of late. And just looking at the stat line and the abilities, they are, without going super in depth, almost identical to 40k stat lines. So if you're used to your faction and how stat lines work, I mean, looking at this, on initial inspection, the weapons do the same thing, the characters and the stat lines represent exactly from 40k. So they haven't got anything different going on. Now that's a really good thing from a familiarity perspective. If you're used to playing Death Guard or Space Marines or Tower, whatever, you're going to know your model stat lines, and hopefully from my initial inspection, those have carried through to this book. So there we go then, guys. That is the unboxing complete of Kill Team. A tremendous value box set, I have to admit. The terrain inside is utterly glorious. The army part, I'm not overly fussed about. Whether I'm actually going to play Kill Team, I probably will. Just get a couple of games in, when friends are over and we haven't got a huge amount of time to play a full game of 40k. But the terrain is definitely going to be joining the ranks of my main 40k terrain. The terrain is just mind blowing compared to the old terrain system, which wasn't particularly modular. You could sort of make lots of L shapes and stuff, but you had to cut and fudge quite a lot of it. This with this pillar system is really clever. So yeah, I'm probably going to add a couple more of these terrain kits to this. What I'm really looking to make is a giant centerpiece, cathedral type piece of terrain. Something that's going to occupy the middle of the board rather than sort of the perimeter, or just sort of acting as random bits of building on a battlefield. I really want something as a centerpiece, and I'm looking forward to putting it all together and seeing how it comes out. But if you did enjoy this unboxing and you want to see more videos from me, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and get all those notifications through to your various media forms. That would be much appreciated. But until then, I shall catch you guys on the next video.